Muscles of the arm, visible on the arm model. We'll start with the most obvious one, the deltoid. Attaches along the clavicle and spine of the scapula, inserts on the humerus. If we remove it, we can see the muscles on the scapula. Try it vertically so you can see the orientation. From top to bottom, we have supraspinatus, infraspinatus, which is wider at the medial side, narrower by the humerus, teres minor and teres major, which is distinguished by going the other direction around these muscles. Together, these are part of the rotator cuff that turns the humerus. On the anterior surface of the scapula, toward the ribs, is the subscapularis, and you can also see the teres major at the bottom. Subscapularis also works with these others. Biceps brachii is the major muscle of the anterior arm. Origin is split, 2 locations on the scapula, and that's why it's called biceps, 2 heads. And then it joins together and inserts on the radial tuberosity to flex the elbow. You can see around the sides another muscle that doesn't come up quite as far. That is the brachialis, which is another elbow flexor. Its insertion is on the ulna. And so together they pull on both of the forearm bones. This muscle, should you need to know it for your courses, not for mine, is the coracobrachialis, named for its 2 ends, coracoid process of the scapula and the humerus. On the posterior, we have the triceps brachii. So it's got 3 parts to it, here, here, and this short one. They happen to be called lateral, long, and short heads. I think that's short. That's what it's called. Okay. These are your elbow extensors, so they are antagonists to the biceps and brachialis. Now your instructor is probably going to be particular. They have to call this biceps brachii because when we get to the leg, you'll see a biceps femoris. Okay. If you're in the Essentials of A&P class, that's all you need to know. You don't have to do any of the forearm muscles. But for A&P 1 or other more in-depth classes, you may need some of these. So we'll start with the back of the arm. Remember, that goes with the back of your hand because in the anatomical position, your palm is in the front. So if we start at the thumb side, the most lateral muscle, that is the brachioradialis. So it's actually attached to the humerus and then the radius down by the thumb, and that's a 3rd elbow flexor. The next 2 are extensor carpi radialis, and they're called longus and brevis. This wide one is the extensor digitorum. If you follow these tendons down, you'll see they go out all the way out the fingers, so they can extend your digits, hence the name. This little one here is just for the pinky, so you can call that the tea drinking muscle. It's called the extensor digiti minimi. And then the last one is the extensor carpi ulnaris. Okay, so radialis on the radial side, ulnaris on the ulnar side, and muscles can only pull, they can't push. So if you're contracting from the back, you will extend the wrist. Going to the anterior forearm, where there's a piece that always falls off. You can see the brachioradialis a little bit on the lateral side. Okay, so this is a left arm. And then we have a group here that's all joined together to the humerus. They spread out and have different functions. This first one, which is shorter, is called the pronator teres, so that's going to pronate. The second one is the flexor carpi radialis. The third one is the palmaris longus. The tendon goes right in the center of the wrist. And I can see my palmaris longus tendon here. I can feel, but I don't think the camera can pick up the tendon of my flexor carpi radialis. Then this last one is the flexor carpi ulnaris. It surrounds the pisiform bone, one of the carpals. The other thing that you might need to know about these flexor and extensor carpi radialis and ulnaris muscles is that if you contract the radialis together, you abduct the wrist. It's not something you can do a lot of because of the way the bones are set. If you contract the ulnaris ones, then you will abduct the wrist, or adduct the wrist. See, tricky one to keep track of, isn't it? Okay. I won't go into any of the muscles in the hand itself, but you may need those for a more advanced course, nor am I going to cover any of these underneath.